Hi, thank you so much for tuning in to the South Miami-Dade Cultural Arts Center's Swing Out Dance Talk in support of their performance on Saturday, March 26th at 8 p.m. I'm Annie Hoffman, and I'm the Education and Outreach Manager here at the South Miami-Dade Cultural Arts Center. This opportunity is brought to you with support of the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs, the Board of County Commissioners, and the Office of the Mayor. Our panelists are going to be providing visual descriptions as they introduce themselves for those who are blind or have low vision. My visual description is I have pale white skin, shoulder length straight blonde hair, I'm wearing glasses, a dark shirt, and I've got a virtual background of the South Miami-Dade Cultural Arts Center behind me. I'd now like to introduce our moderator, journalist Jordan Levin, who will introduce our distinguished panelists. Thank you. Jordan?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Jordan Levin. I'm an arts and dance writer here in Miami. I'm a white woman in late middle age with dark gray-brown hair, with a shawl around my neck, sitting in front of CDs, books, and pictures. And let's see, next up in our lineup is Evita Arce, part of the Swing Out Brain Trust.
Hello, everybody. I'm Evita. I am a Hispanic woman with slightly wavy, medium length brown hair, medium skin tone. Today, I'm wearing a red-orange top with some really fun, circular, sparkly earrings. And very happy and excited to be here to talk to you and to see my friends on Zoom.
Latasha Barnes.
So great to be here as well. Latasha Barnes. I am an African-American woman with chocolate brown skin, bright red lipstick, and blue and yellow tortoiseshell eyeglasses. I also have a short crop top with curly hair that is brown at the bottom, fading to blonde on the top. I'm wearing a white sweater with interesting rivets on the sides. And I'm sitting in front of several works of art, one of which being the billboard photo from Swing Out featuring myself and the beautiful Evita Arce dancing. And I'm really excited to be here with you all today too.
And Nathan Yu, I hope I said that right, and Macy Sullivan.
You got it. I'm Nathan View. I'm a 39-year-old white guy with bald head, and the rest of that wouldn't be bald is also shaved. And I've got dark framed glasses, and I'm wearing a brown shirt and a brown jacket.
And my name's Macy. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a petite white woman with a Swing Out logo t-shirt and a denim over jacket.
And Eyal Vilner, the musical partner in the Brain Trust.
Hi, I'm Eyal Vilner. I'm the musical partner in the Brain Trust. I am originally from Israel, and I live here in New York. I'm sitting in a one-bedroom apartment with a big window that overview the snowstorm that we just got here in New York City. Latasha is being very excited right now because she loves snow. I have a piano behind me and a few woodwinds around me. And
we'll ask you to play later.
Oh, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here. So good to see my friends here on Zoom, and we're so excited to hit the road and see you all joining us.
And last but definitely not least, Caleb. How do you say your last name, Caleb?
Teicher.
Teicher.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Caleb. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a white person with pretty puffy curly hair right now and a dark turtleneck. And behind me are two thriving plants and a stack of blankets because it's still cold in New York. And a couple of framed photos that occasionally my head blocks depending on how much I bounce back and forth on this Zoom call. It's nice to be here with all of you.
And nice to have you all here. This is going to be a lively conversation. Too bad we can't dance together at the end, although I think I would be intimidated to dance with you all, maybe after a couple of drinks. So these wonderful people are the Brain Trust, the creative team behind Swing Out, which is coming to the South Miami-Dade Cultural Arts Center later this month. I read in one of the many stories about you that your show represents swing dance now because you're making it, you've created it now. So what is swing dance now? Because I think most people's cliche image of swing dance is that awful movie from the 90s. Yeah, but is a kind of cliche sock hop image. So what is swing dance now, and what's your show?
I mean, swing dance, it can still be that awful stuff. It depends on your opinion. There was a really fun, or I should say maybe entertaining phase of swing dancing where people really did still get dressed up like almost like characters, you know, going almost like in costumes, going back to the era, trying to do, you know, the big victory rolls and all of this. And that was definitely like a phase or an era, like in the early 90s. But I'd say swing dancing now has become a lot more true to the people who are doing it. I think we've gotten exhausted by trying to recreate and pretend to be who we're not.
Anybody else have something to add to that?
Yeah, when we say swing dancing now, I think the main thing we're trying to say is just it's represents swing dancing. But we have to say something so that people don't think it's that it's an act that, like Evita said, recreates something historical. So we can go list all the differences between swing dancing now and say swing dancing 10 years ago and swing dancing 10 years before that and swing dancing 10 years before that. And by contrast, we'd be like, oh, that's swing dancing now. But all it means is just it's a show that represents swing dancing, and here we are. So there's nothing remarkable about the nowness. It's just however society is now. So some of the key features would be that men and women aren't assigned, and non-binary persons are not assigned a particular dance role a priori, or assumed to be assigned a particular dance role as they may have been in 1935. And we wear clothing that you wouldn't look out of place wearing today on the street in New York or something like that. So those are some examples.
So what makes swing dance swing? Is it the rhythm? Is it the moves? Yes, Caleb.
Yeah, so to take it back even further, swing, when we say swing dance, is sort of mostly used as an umbrella term for a number of different dances that started as early as the, like 1900s, like the 1900s. And with the development of jazz came swing as a rhythmic idea. And when these rhythmic ideas hit sort of club spaces and performance spaces, dancing came along with it. The type of swing that arguably is probably most popular now, and so the one that we imply when we say swing out or when we say swing dance, is Lindy Hop, which started in the Savoy Ballroom and the surrounding ballrooms in Harlem, and in kind of exclusively African-American communities. But basically, as soon as it became popular in African-American communities, was adopted and appropriated and just sort of taken and ran with by just about everyone on the earth. So we're talking about Lindy Hop here. And Lindy Hop, of course, evolves moment to moment and with every dance. But the ways in which it's still the same from maybe the 30s and 40s till now is that it is still done predominantly to jazz music that has a particular propulsion and a particular compositional style and a particular feeling to it. Some people are still dancing Lindy Hop to recordings from the 1930s and 40s. And in our case with our show, we have the great fortune of having Eyal Vilner and his big bands playing some existing compositions from that time period, but also a lot of new compositions. And this isn't a new genre of music. It's just a continuation of the music that the Lindy Hop grew up with. Forget my final point, but I think that clarifies a couple things, and it's also worth saying when we're talking about the present day swing dance thing, we're talking about a community that is huge and international and thriving, and it's one of those things where maybe if you're not aware of it, you're not aware of it, but if you are aware of it, you know that it's as popular as just about anything right now. You can go to any major urban area in the world and find a swing dance scene. So I think what our show does is takes that community which is thriving and puts it on stage as a sort of cultural exponent.
Why has swing, or Lindy Hop, can I say swing? Can I keep saying swing? Why did people all over the world take it and run with it since for decades now, for getting close to a century? Yeah. Why are people still doing it? Why are more people than ever doing it everywhere?
I would argue that not more people than ever are doing it. I would argue that the same amount of people have continued to perpetually do it and share it with other people. More people are just aware of how many people are doing it now. And they do it because it feels, oh, sorry, yeah, I can't curse. It feels absolutely amazing. There's a requirement when you engage with the Lindy Hop or with swing or with honestly any African-American born dance, that you step into it as your fullest self. And even if you're still just learning, you get the opportunity to really put your energy, your emotion, your experiences into what you're doing. It's kind of involuntary, actually. You're having the experience while also aiming to do the thing. And it's a deeply resonant, a deeply uplifting space. And it's not just in that tropish, oh, Lindy Hop is a happy dance. Mm-hmm. It quite literally forces you to come together with another person and with another space and with music. And for some people that brings up elements of nostalgia, some good, some challenging. But it puts you into a space to be able to to really move with yourself and to move with another person and to share that experience. And at the end of the day, that's what we're aiming to do across everything that we do, is to connect with other people and to share that experience. And so Lindy Hop just creates another space for you to do that, but with a beautiful rhythmic sensibility.
Mm-hmm. I just want to add that in terms of why people would keep doing it, or people would be doing it and then they would still be doing it, that there isn't anything that's come along to supplant Lindy Hop or swing dancing. It is the last high velocity partner, like high acrobatic partnered folk dance, and the last swing rhythm partnered dance, like, and there isn't a great alternative. Although it did, continue on into different forms and become other dances, and there are other partner dances, and there are other dances, the subsequent decades, and some swing rhythm, movement after the swing era and things like that. There isn't anything that really checks all the boxes of Lindy Hop. Otherwise Lindy Hop would be historical. So if something had come along to replace it in any of those respects, then we couldn't really claim that Lindy Hop was contemporary.
Yes, Evita.
I mean, Latasha and Nathan said it all beautifully, completely beautifully, and I totally agree. I also want to add that Lindy Hop, unlike some of the other partnered dances, has such an open and spacious opportunity for gender roles to be stretched. It really, in my opinion, because I've done tango and I've also done salsa, I don't think it has as much of the machismo mentality that you can sometimes see in other partnered dance forms. It's also very much, opposite of ballroom in terms of the allowance of freedom, of personal expression, of looseness in shape, whereas ballroom and other dances are aiming for that perfect, beautiful line and structure. And I think there's a huge amount of people out there that are intimidated by some of the things that I described with the other dance forms. Yeah, and so I just feel like swing dancing and Lindy Hop offers such an important space for other people to have fun and to find these social connections and to enjoy music without some of the other descriptors of the other styles.
Tell me about the genesis of this show of Swing Out as an idea, because it seems really unique in the combination of choreography and improvisation and giving the audience a chance to dance. And Eyal, I promise I really want to ask about the music in this, so hang in there, please.
I'll do my best to start with our origin story and then segue straight to Eyal. The origin story is that I had been working as a choreographer in the sort of concert dance space, right? All the people on this Zoom are known as really masters of their craft, but we were all sort of working in different spaces all the time. But I would probably, of all the people on the Zoom, probably Macy and I were most frequently working in concert dance. And some of my concert dance work had included Lindy Hop and vernacular jazz movement. And one of the presentations of my work on stage was a duet I made with Nathan Bew called Meet Ella, which was to Ella Fitzgerald recordings. And this is like the small scale collapsible cup version of Lindy Hop on stage, right? It was just two of us to recorded music. But the folks at the Joyce and Joyce Theater Productions saw that and said, wow, we really find such appeal to the idea of swing dance on stage, Lindy Hop on stage, which is really thrilling because Lindy Hop has such a natural appeal in the social dance space at a club, at a party, at a festival. But it was very exciting that other people thought Lindy Hop was worth putting some lights and costumes and sound design and frankly, some cultural sector money behind. So the folks at the Joyce said, you should make a big swing dance show. And I said, are you really going to give me all this money to do this? And they said, heck yeah. And so I jumped at the opportunity, but I also understood that this opportunity is not something that comes around as frequently as it should. So I wanted to make sure it was done as rightly as it could be. And rightly, to me, doing it right meant having it be a really honest and sort of 360 expression of what Lindy Hop currently is. And so the ask of making the show first came to me, and I immediately roped in all the people on this call who I thought would be just a great way of hive minding a show that would wave the flag of this is Lindy Hop, this is jazz, this is what it looks like right now. I felt like my sole perspective, which no matter how wide I try to make it, it's just my body, it's just my eyes, wouldn't be enough. And everyone on here has been so generous and so committed. We've been working on this project together for, I think we worked on it for 3 years before premiere. And so we all came together, and it became quite clear that we should be making collective decisions. Our first collective decision on the dance side of this brain trust, as we call it, quote, brain trust, was to bring on Eyal as a band leader and composer. And that was a brilliant choice. And of course, then every person that we bring into the show as a cast member is an extension of this vision. But this is sort of the core group that makes decisions and is in conversation about how to keep the ship going in the right direction. Yeah.
And it makes sense because any social dance, but swing especially, is that in the social dance sphere, which it was where it was born and where it lives, it blooms and flows and pops and ebbs, and it's born every second on the dance floor and the interaction of the people doing it. Before we talk about music, did you all meet, like, were you all dancing together on a social level before you formed the Brain Trust?
I'll just quickly say, like, think of it like an Avengers or Justice League scenario where, like, over 10 years of my life, like, I met all these people. And for the record, I'm pretty sure everyone on this hold please. Someone just came home. it's sort of like a culminating of all these different people that related to my dance life. I met Evita dancing in her swing dance company in 2013, which is where I met Nathan. I met Macy in 2010 at Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival. I met Latasha at Paris Jazz Roots Festival in 2016, 2017, and Evita and Nathan were also present. Macy also danced in the swing dance company in 2013, and I met Eyal by going to one of his gigs in 2017 because everyone was talking about Eyal. So it really is like it's this culmination of people for me, and probably for everyone on this Zoom, feels very like autobiographical. It's sort of the story of your dance career told through a group of people.
And when Macy gets really angry, she turns into a giant green rage beast.
What part of the question does
that was the Avengers reference, Macy.
That was the Avengers.
Sorry, I haven't seen it.
Not right through the floor, and you can lift two men at once.
I've tried.
Macy can do that, actually.
Agreed.
Eyal, you don't have this dance without this music. The dance comes from the music. It comes from the rhythm. Everything about it, from the moves to the bounce, to the energy of it. What were you playing when Caleb? What kind of music were you playing when Caleb asked you to asked you to be a part of this project? How did you get into swing dance? Were you playing for dancers in social dance situations?
How long do we have? Let me try to keep it brief. First of all, about your first statement, I think that that you're right, but also the dance is definitely part of the music. It's not just like that the music is part of the dance. It's two things, at least two things, two art forms that came from, the African American community and culture and tradition that influence one another and grew together and just like, constantly inspire one another. So for me as a musician, I'm hopefully inspiring for people who are expressing themselves with movement, but these movements are definitely inspiring me both as a, when I hold one of my horns and I play as an improviser, or when I'm sitting with a pencil and writing the music. Specifically, my journey has been, I've been playing jazz for a long time. And at some point I came across the concept of playing jazz swing music with dancing people around me. And being lucky enough to live in New York, it's something that you get to experience. And I, during one of those gigs where I was subbing at somebody else's band, there was like a complimentary dance lesson in between the sets. And I said, yeah, why not? I'll just like try it. And it did two things. One, it was fun. And two, it felt like, I'm exploring a whole other ancestor of this tradition and of this culture and of this music that I am a guest in, and I'm immersing myself in and trying to express a story or my story or something within these aesthetics. So for me, getting more serious and more digging deeper into the dance was kind of like my homework, and it was a research way of deepening my understanding of this language, of this culture. And I've started taking dance classes with Evita and Nathan and Gabby and Michael. And, I was really invested in it, and it felt like, it potentially could make me a better musician. And I was lucky enough to work with and to meet a few of the remaining masters of jazz, a few of the elders who were still around. And it really felt like, whether they were physically playing for dances or not, it felt like the dance was there in their music. in their phrasing, in their sound, and their existence, so it really felt like there's something special here that might have been or might is overlooked, by other, when you generally think of jazz education or whatever, like, being a jazz musician. And I mean, being able, being offered or invited to come to this table and to collaborate with these amazing, I automatically say amazing musicians, but amazing artists. And it's true, it really feels like, when I started going into the scene, it felt like, I discovered like a whole bunch of people who know the music better than some of my band members, you know what I mean? It felt like, people who are truly invested in it and can really feel the music and all kinds of things, and express it and improvise and listen. And, the collaboration just felt like, so natural and so amazing. So to be able to be on this panel and to be part of the creative team for this show has been such a great and wonderful experience.
I'm going to say something that I probably shouldn't, because it would like open up a wind tunnel to another field. But as you were talking about how intimately the dance is connected to the music and how they're the same, I thought of flamenco, and I thought of Afro-Cuban dance, which are the dance forms that I know where there's always this really intimate live conversation between dancers and musicians. But that's a whole other book.
Yeah, I think most dance forms have that feature, that there's a lot of connection between the music and the dancing. I think the reason that we point it out or say a sentence like what we just said is that over time, as things get abstracted or taken into academia or turned into an activity as opposed to like a consumable activity, and as opposed to an outgrowth of culture, that sometimes that link it's severed a little bit or completely, and so then it becomes news that dancing and music are related, but that's not really news if you think about it.
Right.
It's just, this music's playing and blah blah blah, you're dancing. So the news, in other words, may be that some dances that seem like they could be musical are for some reason separated from the music. That's news.
Latasha.
I just can't thank Nathan enough for that. I know he knows that's one of my favorite Nathanisms, is talking about how the music and the dance they're linked forever. Like you can't and you shouldn't separate them. But just to the point of the work, I appreciate your point about flamenco and those other forms, because we actually do make a point in the work to demonstrate that this is one of our tenets. This is one of our core values about what we want to represent. That is true of swing dance today, just as it was when it was created, honestly. And there's a lovely couple of duet moments with Evita and Eyal. And then there's a duet with myself and Ron, the drummer. And we're aiming again to just put forth that these relationships, not just as friends and not just as collaborators, but in this endeavor to continue to build upon this beautiful art form of movement and music, and how they inform and influence each other. Like we make space in the work to celebrate that, so that it does not continue to be surprising. And those moments, for those who will see this before the work, are duets. We know the dancers will be lit and seen, but they are duets. They're not solos.
I'm actually gonna, if I can, circle back to Nathan's point, because I think more credit is due than is given. Wait, I'm trying to say social dancers are doing really great work. I think I got that backwards. But the point is that and I'll speak to Lindy Hop, because that's what I know, but dancers their ears are paying attention, their ears are active, and it is possible to walk into a ballet class and see dancers who are dancing and the music is going. and I don't know how to describe the relationship that is happening in the room. Same thing happens in modern class sometimes. And I just, and you know, and then there's Merce Cunningham, who there was a score made and there was a dance made, and the first time they happened together was on opening night. And I guess you could call that some kind of a relationship, but I don't think, I think the skill that Lindy Hop and jazz and swing dancers have is really, really incredible. And to be so thoughtful and open while you're also using your body, and doing all of that at the same time. I don't want to take it for granted that that's out there, because not every dancer can do that.
I want to take it back to Swing Out itself. Tell me about the show. What's going to happen? Tell me about the mix of choreography and improvisation, and I want to hear and tell us about the section where the audience gets to join in the dancing. And
I was so excited because I feel like everything that everyone just said, specifically talking about how jazz started as a music you danced to, and then became a music that you sat and had a drink and listened to, and to give, maybe this is just one take on the sort of development of that experience. One was a desire to sort of intellectualize or make, quote, more serious the appreciation of jazz. That's one angle of thinking. The reason people sat down at jazz clubs was to say that they're really appreciating it. They're not just dancing around to it, they're really appreciating it, which goes to what Macy's saying is, if they were really appreciating it, they might be dancing to it. Another way to think about it, of course, is that if particularly in New York, cabaret licenses became necessary for you to allow dancing in your venue. So a lot of places in New York that used to have dancing for jazz music stopped having dancing for jazz music because there was a new law saying that you need a certain kind of permit, which was expensive, to have dancing at your venue. Lastly, if we're talking about making jazz more serious and allowing it to sort of become a quote higher art in the eyes of Western culture, that means bringing it into concert halls and performing arts centers and to symphony orchestras and places that are designed for certain people to perform and certain people to sit in appreciation of those performing. So I say that as a segue to say Swing Out wants you to appreciate Lindy Hop from your seat. It wants you to go woo and applaud and cheer and sort of have your rapt attention on the piece. But the show is designed in two halves. The first half being a 70-minute performance where the audience is seated and appreciating the embodiment of people on stage. And then after a short intermission, the second half of the show is a band set played by Eyal's big band, where the dancers from the show, as well as the audience, are invited to dance on stage, in the aisles, basically wherever the theater will allow us to dance, and to try to activate what is normally a proscenium theater and make it a space for social dancing. So this is us trying to say Lindy Hop is worth appreciating in the way that you appreciate ballet or modern or postmodern or anything else that you go see in a theater, but it's also worth appreciating in its most natural habitat. And its most natural, and maybe it's the highest version of this high art, Lindy Hop, is when you go into a club or a dance space where everyone is moving to the music. So that is my way of segueing and saying, yeah, the show happens for about 70 minutes, and then we take a break. And then when we come back, we ask everyone to move with us. And I think that is one way in which we're really trying to bridge the divide between how you can experience Lindy Hop socially and how you can experience Lindy Hop on stage.
do you show people what to do?
Nah, they'll figure it out.
After watching for 70 minutes, they have a general idea of
And the music
how to engage.
tells them what to do.
Exactly.
But if they get it wrong, we have them removed.
You toss them off the stage, right?
It's like X Factor, the shows with the buzzer. I think we have buzzers. That's why we developed the brain trust. We're like the Simon Cowells and Randy Jacksons of Evita is Paula Abdul. She's just too nice.
tell me about the mix of improvisation and set choreography in the first half. How does that work? And how does that work? How does that work with the music? Or is the musical score is what the band plays, does that stay the same, or does that change and the dancers react, or the dancers change and the musicians react? How does set versus improv work?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
y'all are moving.
there's a million ways that it works, and we employ all of those ways, and they all make perfect sense. And
Okay, that's be a little specific, please.
I'll get there. I mean, I can start listing examples, but but I think it might be easier to understand by analogy in a few different directions. One is just with jazz music. Most people are used to jazz music incorporating improvisation and structure, and are not mystified by the fact that the two can coexist. And jazz dancing is the same. I mean, it's art that is located in musical time and takes place over the course of a period of time, and there's some structure in the improvisation as much as the artists want there to be. Another analogy would just be a conversation like this. You know, you asked a question, you could have asked it in a different way. You could have used a few different words and still asked the same question. You know, you could have said, oh, how do you incorporate improvisation into your choreography? Or you could have asked the question, well, how do you choreograph without destroying the sense of improvisation? And they kind of amount to the same discussion. And that's how improvisation and choreography play together as well. The same way that those words will play together in a conversation. You don't have to just abandon one to have the other. You can ask, if you say, oh, I'm going to take care of this portion of musical time with movement, just like there's different words you could use in asking a question, well, there's different movements you could use in filling out that musical time, and you could still be asking the same question. The question being the rhythm or the effect, the impact, the mood, you know, something that you're going to portray to the audience. That could be portrayed in many ways. So that's how just on a conceptual level, improvisation and choreography, they're not in conflict. As far as examples of how that would be true, examples of those ways, one example would be, oh, you choreograph a portion of musical time and then you improvise a portion and then you choreograph a portion. Another example would be you choreograph loosely a skeleton of what's going to happen, but then within that skeleton of what's going to happen, there are nuances, and we call the nuances improvisation. Another example would be that it's completely choreographed, but some elements of the choreographic representation are not as well defined, like where you're going to put your arms, and then the difference is that each dancer's embody as they choose where to put their arms. We can call that improvisation, or that it is all choreographed, but we don't penalize the dancers for changing the rhythm slightly and making it syncopated or leaving something out because they don't feel like doing it that night. You know, and I can keep listing ways, but suffice to say, there's no conflict between improvisation and choreography, and so it's just all manner of mixtures are present in the show.
I think I got to see it.
And that was going to actually be my point is, yeah, all of those things, as Nathan was getting to in the beginning, there's a million ways and we employ them all, and you just have to be there and experience it. And honestly, it's not a ploy just to get people to come back to the show, but that has been the best conversations that we've had are folks who have come and see the show 2, 3, 4 times even, to be able to discern what they thought were improv-graphical moments, and then to find out that they were choreographed, but just stylized a little bit differently. Maybe as Nathan was pointing out, with like some hand improvisation or a look that was improvised. But then also to see the collective choices that we make on the spot together with the music and the dancers in things that have been set, but are shifted in a specific way on a particular night. So yeah, you definitely have to come see the show several times in order to really get a full feel of how dynamic the level of improvisation is in the work. My favorite improvisational point, probably not what everybody thinks it is, but I think Eyal knows, is in one of the jazz presentations with a trio that we have, to a wonderful tune that Eyal composed called Shabby Shoe. And it's
What's that called?
Shabby Shoe. It's a type of cheese. It's delicious. It's amazing. You should get that too. But Eyal composes amazingly driven and percussive tune that inspires so much movement and creativity. And in his playing, in his improvisational moment, in his playing, he inspired movement that then the rest of the brain trust determined was necessary for the delivery of the piece, that then became choreography. And not just choreography for the dancers, it ended up becoming choreography for the band. The band had to hit this hit. The Eyal had to hit this trill. Yeah, well, not physically. Well, they do move physically because they have to, articulate those notes through their mouth for the sound to come out. So yes, there is movement, but the choreography as it ended up playing out from our building of movement off of their improvisational moment ended up becoming choreography that had to stick in order to deliver what we felt the piece could fully deliver energetically. So this is just, again, speaking to that deeply symbiotic relationship of how an improvisational moment strikes another improvisational moment in the creative dance process that then ends up becoming something that is entrenched in a staple that then is fully choreographed, because the piece just doesn't work the same without it. So yeah, but again, you got to come see it.
I will, and I will get up there even at the risk of being tossed off stage. Eyal, I want to ask.
Can I add something to this for a second? I just want to say that, at least in the big band world, there is a really interesting fine balance between music that has been written before. The charts are written in order for all of us to play harmonically together, and leaving space for improvisation, being it, it could be a specific improvised moments, and it could be, different compings. It could be something within the frame and without, outside of the frame of an arrangement or a composition. And part of the process that I've described before, my personal process and the process that I'm trying to suggest and to invite to my band members and to musicians in general to explore is, to be able to communicate not just with the people on the bandstand who are the musicians, because, we can sit next to each other and close our eyes and play and be totally connected. But, in order to hear what these artists, have to say, we need to look and we need to know how to listen in a different way. And for me, the next stage is also to kind of understand what they're saying. And this is the more you learn about the dance, you can understand more of that language or whatever. This is kind of a longer conversation, but the point is, just like Tasha said, our improvised moments can be influenced by a super hip, chord that the pianist would do, or a hit that the drummer would do, or a background that we haven't heard, or a movement that was so inspiring that made us play completely different when we're improvising. Specifically, Latasha was talking about the composition / choreography moments or process where, something when we were workshopping that particular piece, the composition and the choreography went back and forth a lot into a place where, we shaped the whole piece, the complete piece, movement and sound together. And it was just, part of this process. And there are a lot of different moments like that. The duets would be another great example of very naked sort of improvisation when we are really just trying to have a conversation, and hopefully it's interesting, and hopefully it's beautiful, and hopefully it's something that you want to listen and watch,
How much do the musicians and the dancers rehearse together? Because it seems like that connection is very important.
We rehearse together a lot more than basically every other music and dance group I know. And it's not because we couldn't pull it off without rehearsal, but it's because to build trust and confidence and rapport, especially for improvisational moments, it's necessary to have just miles under your belt together. For people who improvise together, musician to musician, not even dancer to musician, usually that is a relationship that you cultivate. Sometimes you just sort of have a magic connection with someone on your first performance together, but most magic connections are cultivated by years of investment. So Eyal spends a good amount of time rehearsing with the big band on their own, and then we rehearse with the dancers on our own, and then usually once we're all feeling sort of good about our jobs, we come together and we try to forget everything that we thought was going to happen so that we can come together and really hear each other. But we're also very fortunate these days to have kept a good portion of our dancers and musician cast together. So a lot of people who are joining us for the performance in Miami and for our tour overall this spring are people who have done the show now dozens of times, and so they feel really connected to it and to each other. And of course, every once in a while you have to have someone who misses a show or what have you. But that sort of band mentality, that comfort, that familial feeling has been preserved, and that is because we're trying to keep the family together.
There's also
going
the
back to a
aspect of-
party that keeps going. Just drop back in.
some of us have also gotten to dance to the music socially, like Eyal's band every Wednesday here and there, or in the park, Washington Square Park. Like, it's not like the only time we're together is in rehearsals, and that's what makes it cool.
Let me ask you, I want to ask you all a little bit about the dancing itself and some of the ways that in the time that you all have been doing it, in the 10, 20 years, it's a variety of time, like how it's evolved physically and stylistically. Is it more athletic? Is it looser? And I'm really interested in the partner gender fluidity that's characteristic of Lindy now, where anybody can lead and it doesn't need to be a guy leading a girl in that really traditional way. Yes.
I'll answer something short and sweet, because I think everybody here probably has a million things that they could say to this specific question. But something I thought about was the dance. When we look at it in videos from the past, we are seeing the most athletic kind of, special performative, trick type things, because that's a lot of the content that was deemed, well, we got to give them our best stuff because they're filming it. There's a very special documentary called The Spirit Moves by Murrah Den, and that's a really, really special piece of footage that a lot of Lindy Hoppers and swing dancers study, because it's one of the best examples of just social dancing, where people were not particularly like doing performative acrobatic choreography, although there are examples in it. But what I wanted to say is that,
I'm sorry, Evita, what was the name of the filmmaker again?
Murrah Den.
Mona Den, D-E-N?
Murrah, Nathan, help with the spelling. M-U-R-A-D-E-H.
H-N.
X. Look at them. We got like the whole tribe here, like just ready backing each other. Murrah Den, she was a Russian ballet dancer.
Oh.
That fell in love with American jazz music. Anyways, what my point was, sorry, I was going to try to make this short, is that in my opinion, having looked at the past footage and wondering how the dance was in its origins when it was being formed to the way it is now, something I've noticed and really appreciate is sometimes a hyper awareness of physical communication between partners. I think
then or now? Or
now. And I think it's because, people overthink things a lot, but they also try to explain things. We also try to teach things. And in doing so, I think there's been a spectacular amount of focus and interest in, what is the way that we communicate and take care of each other without words? What can I feel in this moment? And I think it's quite beautiful, because it's one of those sparks and those really sacred qualities that I think gives people the sense of joy and comfort and obviously connection. And I think that that is a very heightened and a lot more sensitive. I'm sure it was incredible back in the origins of it. It's just that we've had so much more time to analyze it and talk about it and think about it and explain it. And that might segue to what Caleb wants to say about
yeah, Evita's so on, and I also just wanted to say that in terms of greater trends in the dance, I think that's sort of narrative based for the most part. Like Lindy Hop has been so many things at all points in its existence. And you could say it's more athletic now and point to 30 examples of that. And you could also say it's less athletic now and point to 30 examples of it. And you could say it's, queerer from a gendered perspective than it ever has been. And you also could look at early videos of Al Minns and Leon James and other same or similarly gendered partners dancing together and say, oh, it's always been really progressive or radical or forward thinking. So I hazard against saying that really Lindy Hop is moving in any particular direction, and maybe someone here could jump in at some point and say what they think the broader line is. But what I will say about it from the way that Swing Out has decided to present Lindy Hop is we are trying to, it's sort of an aspirational look at Lindy Hop in the present and in the future, more so than it is a sort of time capsule for Lindy Hop as it currently exists or how it has existed. And I think that is maybe what's unique about the show. And to speak specifically to the sort of lead follow roles and the sort of gendered implications of that, there are still people all over the world, male-bodied people who are leading and female-bodied people who are following, all over Lindy Hop. But I think so. It's not like that has been erased. But I think maybe a broader theme here is that it's not as important to Lindy Hop as it still might be in other genres. There are definitely people in ballet who are trying to break certain gendered barriers of ballet, but it's such a small percentage of the people in the dance. And Lindy Hop seems to overall really expanded its vision of these dance roles and who should inhabit them. And so it is not just one dance in Swing Out where we have people of similar genders or same genders dancing together. It's throughout the show. And so I think we're trying to make a case that this is the world we live in now, and the dance can reflect that. And Lindy Hop is particularly good at sort of moving with the times. It started as a really forward-thinking dance. It is a forward-thinking dance, and I imagine as long as people are doing it, it'll continue to be a very progressive dance form.
I just want to comment on the question of things changing in Lindy Hop over the course of time in which I've been doing it, and say, yeah, there are things that have changed over time. In particular, I would say the tempo and the music maybe slowed down a little bit around the time I was starting to do Lindy Hop, as you move from like the mid 90s into the early 2000s, and then the tempos kind of sped up again, and then it was popular to listen to small combo music and not so popular to have big band music, and the music skewed a bit earlier. The dancing got a little more Charleston-esque for a period of time, and now I think we're back towards more of a big band sound. So there are little changes. And the other thing I want to say, it's a little bit like what Caleb said. I just want to say it succinctly and tie into one of our earlier questions. It's society that has changed, and Lindy Hop being a contemporary and relevant dance just reflects those changes. So in terms of the bigger, broader changes in the outlook on gender, dance role assignments, things like that, it's us that are changing. It's not Lindy Hop that's changing. And because Lindy Hop is not recreationist by nature, because it presently exists, it's just going to reflect those changes.
We can applaud audibly. If
we're all applauding each other because we all respect and love each other so much.
My I just want to say very quickly, as a former modern dancer, came to salsa late and had guys telling her for years, stop leading, stop trying to lead. I'm very intrigued by all of this. But really what comes across in everything that you're saying in one way or another is that this is a kind of dance and a show that's very intensely alive in the moment that you're doing it and as a form. And that sounds like something that's really vital for Lindy Hop in general and for the performance at the South Miami-Dade Cultural Arts Center. So I think we'll leave it there. Annie, where's our overseer?
Thank you so much to our moderator, Jordan Levin, and to our panelists for participating in our dance talk. Tickets for the in-person swing out performance at the South Miami-Dade Cultural Arts Center on Saturday, March 26th at 8 p.m. are available now, so please visit smdcac.org to get your tickets. We look forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much, everyone.
This was fun. It's so
Good.
happy, wonderful to see y'all.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
No, I want to tell you all, I'm going to come and I hope to meet you. I want to tell you all about